I didn't go looking for a new company. I was scrolling through social media one day. One of the headlines was like, once you see it, you can't unsee it. And so that caught my attention to the point where I was like, okay, let's see how unseeable this actually is. And so I watched as she talked about a new company, and I'm like, this makes a lot of sense and is exactly what I feel like I'm looking for in my business. And so with that said, I am officially announcing my move to eXp Realty. And I want you to know that this was not just like a random bandwagon type of jump. That video I watched was actually last year. And so I've over the last year kind of kept my eyes open, kept my ears open. And what I found was, as I was going through this journey of growing my business, I was finding that all of the coaches that I looked up to the most were all moving to eXp. Then there were things like the agents in all these Facebook groups, like for example, the Follow Up Boss Facebook group. A lot of the really big names in there that are producing massive amounts of business are at eXp. And so I'm like, there must be something to this. And so I started looking into kind of the different facets of the company, and all it did was just increase my curiosity instead of decrease it. And so I want to share with you the reasons why I decided to make the move. So the first one really came down to, it was a financial decision. So with KW, you have a cap. So like, for example, at my office, it's $24,000 for the year. And so once you cap, you're at 100% commission until your commission rolls over. So that was the first element of it. eXp Realty's cap is $16,000, regardless of what state you're in, what office you're in, it doesn't really matter. And to me, that was really important because I am not the agent that goes into the office. And so the culture per se in the office wasn't really that important to me. I was like, okay, well, from a financial perspective, that's really cool. And then I learned about the Icon program. And that is where you have the ability to earn back your cap through stock options. Now, when I've talked about this and kind of gauged people's sort of opinions and feedback and all of that on it, it was interesting to see, because the naysayers of this sort of option are like, well, you're just earning it back in stock. You're not actually earning it back in cash. I'm like, but that's way better than what we're doing at KW right now. And so the ability to earn back your cap was truly a huge part of that decision. Then taking that even further along, I was like, okay, well, it's not just about the money. Like that's not the end all be all of all things. Truly, money is part of it. But if they don't offer anything else, then it doesn't make sense. So then I got into like, okay, well, what about the culture and the training? And as anyone, I think, in real estate at this point knows, that culture and training are KW's love languages. Like that is it for KW. And so in going through, I stayed in curiosity and really dug into how they do their training, how they build their culture. And so I'll lay over this video so you can see the actual culture element is actually really cool. So they have what's called eXp World. It's almost like metaverse-like, where you can actually go into the metaverse at any given time, 24 hours a day, and they have your managing brokers there. You can ask questions about accounting and all these different elements that I didn't really have access to the resources previously. And so just the ability to have that connection at any given time. And then in terms of culture and really that community, so I started noticing that while you're going to see a lot of eXp agents out in outward-facing groups trying to recruit other agents, because as we'll talk about in a second, the revenue sharing opportunity is huge there. It's interesting to see that there's not a lot of community that happens in the agent Facebook groups from eXp agents. And so start looking into that and realize they have what's called Workplace. It's Facebook's version of Facebook for companies. And so the Workplace is basically a massive Facebook group with a bunch of subgroups for whatever interests that you might have. And so that's where the eXp community actually spends their time really networking, getting to know each other. And so like they have a young professionals group, they have all these amazing agents. And so that was a really big part of it, was the fact that they had the culture behind it. On the training side, this was really interesting to me because as much as KW is a training company, what I find is, and for the record, like I understand that what I'm about to say is going to sound a little contradictory, because in order for marketing to work, in order for an event to be successful, the speakers have to be people that people want to see. However, the challenge with doing it that way is in most cases, when you are putting on a training and you have the rainmaker who's a 7th level agent or a 6th level agent, whatever it is, and you're asking them questions about like, how do you run your open houses? They're not the ones that are doing the open houses. They're not the ones that are setting up for it. They're not the ones that are doing the follow-ups from it. And yet they're the ones that are talking about it. And so you end up with these trainings that are super airy, fairy, fluffy, feel good, motivational, inspirational, work harder, and we can all do it type of mentality, rather than being like, step 1, go do this, step 2, go do this, step 3, go do this. And while yes, there are those trainings, we've almost seen the shift to the guru, the person who makes you feel good. And so if you've been following me for any amount of time, you know that I have our systems anti-classes. And so those anti-classes, I literally called them anti-classes because of the fact that I was so tired of gurus and these mega names that didn't actually give anything tactical. And so I was like, if I'm gonna share these with other agents, I'm gonna teach them exactly what to do, what button to click, how to do it, what to say, all of the details of what I've tried, what I've succeeded at, and leave out the things that are not successful. But when you have the gurus teaching, it ends up just being a little bit lifeless and a little bit outdated because they're no longer in it. And so as we know, technology is moving at a more rapid pace than pretty much ever before. We're finding that it's really hard to ignore the guru effect of training. And so with their Icon program, all of the trainings are done by Icon agents. So basically what that means is that they have capped and then they've sold an additional 20 units at minimum, or they've done 500,000 in GCI. And so they're people who this year are crushing it in the market. And so those are the people who are going to be offering the trainings. And you're finding that ultimately you're getting the most up to the minute sort of relevant information rather than something that worked 3 or 5 or 7 years ago and now they're just disconnected. So that was actually something that kind of annoyed me about most companies, not just KW, with their trainings. And I really appreciated about eXp's sort of approach to training. So the other element of it was the revenue share opportunity. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that that was not something that I didn't see as an opportunity. And what I found was I was already doing that at KW. I was already growing my profit share downline, and I was offering value to the agents that were joining with me, and it was great. However, it wasn't scalable. And what I mean by that is there was no easy way to track who was joining your downline. So it made it really difficult to actually offer value to those agents and knowing kind of where they stood in their business at all times. With eXp, they really encourage that when you're having people join you in your downline, they become like a mentor to you. So the mentor or my sponsor at KW, I spoke to a couple of times, literally never talked to her again. She doesn't know anything about my business, and yet that would have been something that I know would have been really helpful, especially when I was first starting out, in having that sort of resource and training and just the mentorship that comes along with it. And while at eXp it's not mandated that they have to do that, I sat down and at this point I was like, okay, let me go find a sponsor who's actually going to be involved in my business and want to add value, because I want to be that for other agents should they decide to join us at eXp. And so I reached out to Mike, found him on YouTube after watching 3,000 videos and really getting to know kind of the models and the way things work and watching all the pros and all the cons. I'm like, let me just have a conversation. And so had my meeting with Mike, and I was like, okay, this is the perfect fit. Their organization within eXp is called the Agent Wolfpack. It was so insane how the alignment made just perfect sense of putting an agent who, whether they're producing or not, and just elevating them in such an intimate way. So beyond just social media trainings and YouTube and all of that, he's proven how to make all of this work. He has, at the time of this recording, he has 70,000 YouTube subscribers. He's verified on Instagram. He knows how to market. And so that was something that I was like, okay, that seems like a really good mentor for me. And when agents decide to join me at eXp, they'll get my trainings and they get Mike's trainings. And then so we had a second call where we partnered up with Louis as a just a productivity ninja. Like, he's amazing when it comes to time management, just being the most intentional and effective version of yourself. Then directly above Mike is actually Connor, is one of the top 50 producers in the entire company. So eXp at the time of this recording is around 85,000 agents. And so now you're looking at like all four of these corners where you have the production, you have the marketing, you have the productivity and balance, you have the systems. And it was like the divine alignment really just made perfect sense for what I wanted to offer to agents, even when I was at KW, and offer value for someone who wanted to join our downline. And yet what they're doing here is so innovative, it's so fresh, it's so impactful. If you join me with the Wolfpack, there's already 1,200 other agents who are already in this organization. So like, one of my fears was losing the KW young professionals and losing sports and entertainment and losing all these other kind of communities that I had built. And yet eXp is the fastest growing brokerage in the entire world. So they're at 85,000 now, KW's around 200,000. I'm putting my bets on the fact that eXp is going to continue to grow at a fairly rapid rate. I think that they've taken on some really big names who know how to attract people. I think that the company is going to continue to just explode. And the way that they offer value to agents is unmatched by anything else that I've seen. And so after 9 years at KW, like, it was one of the hardest business decisions I had to make. And I ultimately made the decision to join eXp, not because it was just like, okay, well, let's just make a willy-nilly decision. I spent 9 years at KW and now it's time for something different. And so I'm super excited, and already like the value that I've gotten from the organization and the company, the welcoming that I've gotten. And so this is really just my kind of, I don't know, my reality TV confessional, telling you guys why I decided to make that switch. So no pressure, no rush, no anything. But if you're interested in getting access to all of my trainings, all of Mike's trainings, Connor's mentorship in production, and Louie's guidance when it comes to productivity, I would love to talk to you. Like, I'm super excited about this move. I already have seen the systematic value, by the way, that you get when you join, and just the community that you get when you join an organization like this, where there's literally 5 mastermind calls every single week. I'm not ever the person to sit here and pressure you or rush you or force you into anything. I truly believe that if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And it took me a while to get to the point of hell yes. And now that I've made the jump, I'm so proud of this decision. And I'm really excited to be able to continue to deliver more value to the agents within our community, especially those that join us through eXp, because that will really give us the ability to give them for free and also continue to build on and expand our trainings. So would love to talk to you if that's something you're interested in. And otherwise, thank you so much for always being so supportive, always like just kind of keeping me as top of mind as your systems girl. I'm super excited to continue to be that for you. And please let me know if there's anything else I can do for you.